Hello everyone, it's Sue from Crafts to Enjoy and welcome to my craft from this afternoon. And I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm also a UK Stampin' Up demonstrator, independent demonstrator. I still can't say that. UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Oh, I got it there in the end. I'm too excited because today I have a very, very good tutorial about heat embossing. Eek! It's one of my favourites. I love, love, love this. And the first time I remember having a moment in crafting when I saw paper turn into something magical. And I was like, oh, it was a big gaspy moment for me. So ever since the big gaspy moment, I've loved heat embossing and I've just done so many things with it. So I wanted to share that with you today, and some also, if it's not turning out quite so good for you, what might be going wrong. So I've done a few cards in my previous videos about heat embossing. I wanted to show you what heat embossing can do. That's on white. These are quite plain ones. I did that one a while ago, and there's another one there. The same stamp, it didn't really require much colouring in, but I've been at a class yesterday. I was doing some colouring in, so we've done it in black and then coloured it in to give it almost like a raised bit, so it helps to keep the water. I've done a bit of watercolouring here. It helps keep the colours sort of contained, and but it just gives it such lovely definition. I love it, love it. So yes, where should I start? I've got so many things to show you. I wanted to also show you this. I've been playing with, well, turning this really into this. That's just a different colour. That's just got a bit of Coastal Cabana or something underneath. But it also can turn wonderful things into almost these type of things you see in like metal and stuff. So it almost, you know, if I kept going with that, a couple more layers of heat embossing, it would probably look like a bit like it's done in metal. It's just incredible what you can do. So the sky's the limit here, really. So I wanted to start off with something quite basic. I wanted to show you just sort of like the kind of quite basic-ish basic heat embossing. So heat embossing, essentially, the tools that you need are a heat gun, an embossing buddy, which is just a little sort of powdered little pillow, I call it. Yeah, it's got a powder in that takes all the moisture, and moisture is our enemy here. So it takes all the moisture out of my card. And this piece of card, I've cut it out, taken it out. I've got finger oil and that all over it, even though it doesn't matter how clean you think your fingers are or hands are, there'll be a bit of oil on there, and the powder, heat embossing powder, will stick where we don't want it to stick. So, and you need some Versamark, and I always have a couple of old paintbrushes to hand, just in case I need them, and I'll show you why these are important later on. You'll think, aha. So I'm just going to start with something nice and easy. So I'm going to choose what colour should we choose? Oh, I don't know, not thought about that. So essentially we need to take off the moisture from our card. So I'm going to hold that right on the edge because I know that my stamp isn't going to fit in there. I'll pass it off across to the side there. This is a stamp I've chosen to fit in there to make a sentiment, as I made a greeting. And I'm going to do it in, what sort of colour should I do? Should I do it in a gold? I keep all my embossing powders in tubs, so it just helps me to contain it better. So I'm just going to I've got everything ready. So I've embossing buddy. Did I emboss your buddy? I did do it, didn't I? I'm just going to double check I've done it. You know, if in doubt, do it again. That's the rule here. So I've got that done, and I'm going to ink up with Versamark my stamp. And I tend to find when you're inking, lots of light little taps are the way to go. I always put the lid on because obviously it can dry out the Versamark. So I'm just going to pull that towards me a little bit and hopefully try and get it in the centre. This is going to be a sentiment for a card. It is quite sticky, and that's perfectly normal. And I'm going to just hold it on the edge. I always put a lot of old spoons in there as well. So I think most of my colours now have got a spoon in them. So and all you do, just double check the powder's all over it. So I'd sometimes do it a few times just like that. Give it a little flick from the other side. Oh, I just dropped it there. Whoops, oopsie. Again, just double check there's nothing. Aha. See, if that happens to you, this is what we're going to do. So you know I said about that paintbrush earlier that we're going to need. Whoops. All we're going to do with the paintbrush, so before we heat it, if there's some powder on our card, I don't want that. I've got a bit of powder there. Can you see? Right on the edge there. It's quite small. I don't want that there. So I'm just going to get my paintbrush and just flick it off. So I'm just going to double check round. There's a teeny bit there. I think I've dropped it in it again. So there you go. So I'm going to always make sure I put the lid on my embossing powders. I'm just going to grab a poker tool and hold that in place. So now I'm going to heat it. I'm using my silicone mat here, but I know sometimes some people prefer to use this sort of it's like a Teflon sheet. Mine's very well used, as you can see. I've had this for a number of years, but they're also quite good. But you know, I'm just doing something small here, so you know, obviously you've got to protect your work surface. These heat guns are really quite powerful, and you obviously, you know, you need to be really careful when you're using it, because you could hurt yourself or burn yourself. And don't forget, the Stampin' Up one comes with a little sort of stand, so it helps it to stand upright. But also, please be aware that if this heat gun were to fall off, say my cat jumped up, which he often does, were to knock this off and then knock the on-off switch, my house could burn down. So that there are really careful when you're using these things and think about what we're doing. I would recommend that if you're going to get a heat gun with 2 speeds, and this little Stampin' Up one does have. So I'm going to just go in, because I'm impatient, so I'm going to go straight in. I'm just waiting for that powder to melt into like a golden molten, and I love it. You can burn the powder, so all I'm going to do there, can you see that? Can you see the way that's sort of glistening? That just looks fab. I think you're picking it up quite so well on the video there. I'm really sorry, folks. I don't mean that's quite got it, but it does have. Oh, it's better that side. It is all sort of golden, which is fabulous. That's our first one. I also wanted to show you how to do another good technique is white embossing powder, so on black background. So I want to do that one as well for you. So I've got somewhere here. Yeah, where's it gone, my stamp? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Let's grab a block. So again, the same process for everything that we're doing here. Again, I've touched that with my fingers, so I'm just going to try and get all that moisture out with my little pillow here, my embossing buddy, and then I'm going to get my Versamark and ink that up. I've just re-inked mine actually, so it is quite juicy. So I'm going to pop that on there. I'm thinking of you. I know that fits on there, so again, it's perfectly normal for it to go up. I'm going to grab the white. I'm just going to grab that one, put that one back in front of me, because oh, that's the clear one. No, the white one is here. Excuse my arms not going in front of where we are. So we're going to use white embossing powder. Yeah, you got that. So this is also, I tend to go over it about twice. Again, if there's anything that I've missed, just go over it. Just give it a good flick from the other side. And, oh, we've got a couple of bits of where we didn't want it to be. This is really good to show you this actually. Just get the brush, before you heat it, get the little brush. There you go, give that a little flick. And if there's anything I don't want it to be, white I think is notorious for sticking, and you saw me use my embossing buddy and everything, and it's still, you know. But if this happens to you, you know, this has just happened to me, so I'm glad that sometimes it's awful if it goes perfect. Well, it's awful for you if it goes all perfect, isn't it? Because this is real life. I don't edit any of my videos. This is what happens. I don't edit them. You know, if this happens, then it goes on. I'll show you how to put it right. I'll show you what I do at home, because this is me crafting with you, you know. This is what we do. So that's that fixed. So voila. Oh, is there a couple of bits there I've just seen? It just seems to be, you know. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to heat that up now, and hopefully that's okay. I think that's okay now. So I'm just going to put my paper tool in there to secure it. And it melts the powder, and it's just a magical moment when it melts it. I love it. And that's our white powder on black. So if you're wondering, often people use this a lot on cards. It just looks so opulent. It just looks so different. It gives it a different texture. I love it, love it, love it. So we're moving on now to, I've done this type of thing before on the front of, so I'm reaching forward, on the front of, like, you know when you go into a shop and you see like a designer sort of notepad type thing, and they've got like heat embossing or something like it's done on front of it. Well, I don't know how they do it in the shops, but this is how I do mine. I've got the new, what's it called? What's it called? Perfect Prose, I think it's called, yeah. I've got the new one, and I wanted to create a stencil. So, and then I thought I would get, again, same technique again. This is going to go on the front of a notepad. I've cut it to size, and I want an S in the middle. So all I'm going to do here is just, I'll use that for another, I'm just going to put a teeny bit on the back there. Give it a little, and then I'm going to position where I want the S to be. Oh, sorry, I'm right-handed. And then I'm going to use a thing, like everything I endorse or use, it comes with a re-inker. So Stampin' Up actually sell it in the catalogue. So if you buy this and this, you've got this, you know, it lasts for so long. And this can be used for something else. So I'm going to quickly get a block. Oh, I'll use the other one that I've got over. So again, like I showed you before when we're using our re-inkers, we're going to use this as well. So I put a teeniest of a little blob on there on my acrylic block, and then I'm going to I've got a paintbrush, a clean paintbrush, and then I want that as a stencil for my. I'm just going to. There's nothing, you know. Nothing particularly clever about that, you know. It looks fabulous, but you know it's not difficult. All I'm going to do is put that down, and I think I'm going to do a copper letter. I think it does take quite a bit because I've used quite a largish sort of letter here. So I don't know if I've quite got enough of the. But again, I'm just going around, just filling it in really. That's that. That's my S done. I'm going to grab the copper. As you can see, that's my letter. I'm just going to quickly grab the copper. Oh, reaching forward. Whoops. Sometimes you'll see people do it from the bottom. I don't know, I tend to do it from the top, but you know, I just want to see where I'm going. But you know, I don't think it. Sometimes if you're using inferior card, that might be the way to go, or it's not quite such thick or good quality. So that's another way to use our, again, I've just got a little bit there. I'm just going to get the paintbrush, and I thought I'd just do a little quick tidy up. Anyway, I don't want any of the powder, just flick that off. Oh, my brush is getting a bit sticky. And that is essentially that. I'm just going to heat that up. That could be in the front of a fancy notebook. It could be anything. I could do letters, I could do names, I could do monograms, I could do anything. Just heat that up and get that done. That's on the copper. And I quite like that. It's got a little S there. That's quite cool, isn't it? Imagine that at the front of a notebook or something. I'm going to put that in the front of a notepad I've got to make for my friend. So that's really cute. So that's another way to use it. I'm getting excited because there's so many things to show you and get through. Also, there is... they do make VersaFine. I just wanted to show you this. Do make that's a clear one. They do it in black, so you could. Let me show you what it does. So I'm going to do it in black. I've just got a flower outline here. Black ink, slow drying. Gives you time to put the powder and everything on. I nearly forgot my embossing buddy. Slap my wrist, but yeah. So on there, that's black. Clear embossing powder. again, it's another way to use things. I'm sure that's available on the internet. I've had mine for such a long time, I can't even remember where I got it from now. But Stampin' Up don't carry that, unfortunately. But perhaps they should. You know, again, they do the clear embossing powder. That's the Stampin' Up one, but they don't do this particular. It's a VersaFine Onyx Black. Well, it says instant dry, but it's actually not. It's a slow drying one. So that's the one that you need for that. Yeah. So I'm just looking at my shelf there. There we go. So we're going to heat this one up exactly the same. I don't waft it around too much. I tend to hold it in a position, let it get warm, and then go with the powder. So that's what I do. I do all this wafting. I'm not convinced that it does it any quicker or anything. And that is that one done. So I could colour that in. That's giving me quite an outline now. There are lots of companies now that are making peel-offs that are very much like this, and this is what it reminds me of. And that people put them on a card, you peel it off, an outline, colour it in, because it gives you kind of a teeny bit of a raised bit. If you're colouring that in, you know, it wouldn't go over the edges because it's got the powder in that there to hold it in, to hold whatever you're putting in there in, the colour in rather. I think there's something else. There's so many things. I saw my cat just moving something in our craft room. I also want to show you quickly how we did this one. It's a bit more fiddly. Oh, so quick then. So, and this is going to be a bit of a spoiler for a future video. So it is a bit fiddly, but it's something you can do. So again, same techniques here. I'm going to get my happy. Might be Happy Christmas. Oh, Christmas in July is coming up, folks. Watch out for videos that are coming out on the 25th of July. Fingers crossed they will be there. I'm going to... Shall we do a gold or a clear? Oh, I think we might need to go for gold. I think we're going to do a gold one. Why not? So I've done my embossing buddy. I've done... And now I'm just going to move that down a smidgen. I've got some tweezers here somewhere. I'm just going to move that down. And I'm going to get my Versamark. Again, this mat is just, the silicone mat is just fabulous. So I need to make, I could do it the other way. I could get that onto the pad, which I think I might do a little bit. That might be easy because you can do it either way, depends on what. It's a bit fiddly, but it does give you a fabulous effect. Again, I've got to try and hold it because I want the powder to stick to it. So I'm just going to go over that again under those happies because then again I can't see. It's difficult to see where it and we need to be able to see it just changes it slightly to a darker colour. So I just need to see how that's going to go. I think that's well covered. So I'm just going to put the lid on my ink and then pop that. I'm going to just lay it in. And I'm just going to get my tweezers and move it around a bit. I could lay it in, you know, whatever you find easier. I just kind of move it around a bit. Try not to bury it and lose it in the sand, in the embossing powder. So, oh, that hasn't gone particularly well on that bit there. Just a bit of a miss there. So I'm just going to try and pick it up. Oh, my cat's meowing. Hello, Zizi. My cat's saying hello. I think he wants his dinner. Yeah. So I'm just going to get that on the mat. And I quite like it the way it's got a bit of red underneath. Let's heat that up and watch that happen. And look at that, how amazing does that look? It's almost got like a tinge of red to it underneath. It's a bit warm still, but how fabulous does that look on a card? Let me show it to you on something white so you can see it. That's just amazing. I love it, I love it. Oh, I'm very happy. So one more thing, last thing to show you is a, where's it gone, there you go. So you can almost take this embossing heat embossing to a completely different level just by doing layers, and it almost comes out like an enamelling. I mean, can you see that's had 4 layers of clear embossing on? Can you see that? You see the light there, don't you? That's it. So that's 4 layers of embossing, heat embossing. I'm going to put one more on, and then I'm going to do some stamping into it. That's what I wanted to show you. So just making sure I've got everything ready. I need the clear. So my desk is full of stuff that I'm excited to show you. But yes, it's good. So again with this one, I'm not going to worry too much about it. I haven't touched it with my fingers, so once you get your first layer on, it's okay. And I'm going to put this onto the ink pad. Just get my finger from the other side. I'm not too worried about this side, because this side will be on stuck to my, I'm doing a scrapbook page. So I just wanted to do something a bit different. So that's that covered. I can see that's well covered with the. Let's just get that corner again with the kind of like the glue or the Versamark, and then you just get that over my embossing powder. This is clear embossing powder, but again you could mix your colours, you could do this, you could do so many different things with this technique. The world's your oyster, really, once you know how to do it and know the pitfalls of you know what doing wrong and how, you know, but just playing essentially, really. Just play with it, just have a go. Don't be afraid to dive straight in. Yeah. So I'm gonna, oops, let's get that again. Heat this up again. Whoops. Oh, it's blowing away. And what I should have done was get my my stays on ready. So I want to put this stamp straight into there while it's still quite wet, quite a bit wet. So I'm using stays on, upside down, stays on. Getting my stamp all ready. I'm going to leave the stamp balanced on top of it so it doesn't get too much of the heat out. And you can only really use the red rubber stamps. I wouldn't recommend that you do stamping into sort of like molten hot, really, with any of the the clear stamps or anything. The red rubber is best, otherwise you'll just ruin the stamps. And it's just melting, and it melts the layers underneath as well at the same time. So we're just going to do that. We're going to give it, and that just looks like glass. So I'm going to very quickly do that. I'm going to give it 5 seconds to cool down, and in I go with the stamp. And I can feel, you have to be quite careful because you're going into quite a hot liquid, and it will burn yourself. But obviously, hopefully it will come off. Hopefully it will cool down. And how cool is that? Can you see that? So we stamped into it, and you can see it just looks like glass. And that started off life as a piece of card, as a scrap of it that came out of. That's what it started off like. Just a square cut out with a framelit. Looks amazing. I love it, love it, love it. So that's another way. That could make tiles for scrapbook pages. You could do anything with that. A card. So many different things you could do. So I really hope that you've enjoyed my tutorial today. This is my how-tos. I've done a series of them now of about water colouring, what tools I like to use, stamping and inking. So I'm going to do a whole mini series of how-tos, and really sort of showing you what might be going wrong with some of your projects that you're doing at home, and how to get the most of your sort of supplies and that you've got at home, because you know, if you're investing in quality, you want to really make it last. But yeah, that's my stamp. I just want to show you that stamp that I've just been using. That's the one, the red rubber. If you're using the clear one, the clear stamps, like, oh, I'm trying to find one now, but I won't be able to find it. There you go. That one will melt going into it. So if you don't want to be using this type of stamp on this particular technique, because it will just melt your stamps. So yes, but so much more you can do from this. And I've just touched the iceberg, really. It's the tip of the iceberg, this is. It's fabulous though, isn't it? So I'm sure, thank you very much for watching today, and you can go, I do have a blog, so hop on over to my blog. It's craftstoenjoy.com. So, and all the socials will be the same username, and so you can hop over there and have a look. There's lots of inspiration over there on my blog. If you'd like to buy anything I've used today, then you can. There's a shop over there, so just click on my online shop. So don't forget on the YouTubes to press on the subscribe button and click on the bell to not miss any of my future videos. Thank you very much for watching today. What's your favourite? What has been your favourite thing we've done today? We've done so many different things. What's been your favourite and why? And what would you like me to do? If there's something I can do to help you with in the future. I do so much different things here. So, you know, there's just endless really what you can do. And that's just a small selection of the things we can do with this. You know, colouring in. Oh, just so many things. So many things. I get too excited. Need to calm down. Have a cup of tea. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.